Hi, hot listeners. Welcome to episode 40, the big 40 of the Hot Podcast. Today, we will recap our recent trip to Italy and some little tidbits along the way of Italy travel, so stay tuned.
Hey, Marta.
What's up?
We're back. Finally.
Yeah, we are.
Sorry about everybody's ears. We're finally back on July 2nd. That's when this is going to be released on Tuesday.
That's
for
true.
the Hot Pod. We're finally back. Are you excited to be in the podcasting chair once more?
I mean, the podcasting chair is called the couch for me, but yeah. I'm glad to be in front of this microphone. Feels good.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I'm sure there's plenty of people, all tens of tens, are wondering where we've been.
We know that there have been some listeners because we've gotten downloads, arguably more downloads during the hiatus than we got while we were releasing, which is interesting, but whatever.
Yeah, we've been on a long, long hiatus. Did we want to touch on why we're back, or did we want to touch on what's taking us away from the podcast first?
You can do what took us away, and I'll say what brought us back. Okay. I'll deliver the good news.
You deliver the good news, I'll deliver the... I don't know if it's really good or bad news, but...
mediocre news.
Yeah, I mean... We were doing the podcast. We were on a roll. At a certain point, though, because of the way we scheduled it out, because we didn't really properly plan, I don't think, we wanted to release episodes on Tuesday, so we were trying to do it right around the time when Tuesday came around, so we would try to record on Monday. And we sort of got into that type of habit, and then finally... things would come into the way, like Bachelorette, the important stuff.
Very important commitments.
Exactly. So we would end up watching that and then have to record afterwards, and we'd both be tired. And it was kind of draining to do that along with getting home from work and then being all day and then trying to get up for recording the podcast because we didn't plan it, I don't think, as ahead of time as we should. And now... I think with one of the reasons we're back, I think we've gotten into better habits as of late. And also, I think we're recording this, if you want to know.
Hey, I was going to touch on that.
We're recording it on Saturday at the moment.
Oh, I thought you were getting into my
No. I'm not touching your topic. You can give the praise all you'd like to whoever deserves it. But yeah, I think we're going to plan on doing it on Saturdays now. I think the long hiatus actually has given us nice perspective. We've started to miss it. Recording, it's just a nice stress reliever too, but during the week it can be a little draining, especially when we're trying to do other things. Like me, I've still been coding, hasn't changed since episode 39, so you probably episode 39 to 40, it's probably right back where we started. It seems like we're just back in the chair again. But I think we're trying to do better habits to record this, and I think it's going to be an exciting time to keep recording for all you hot listeners. I think that touched on everything. You think I did a good job?
Yeah. Good.
Okay. I guess I could turn it over to Marta to explain exactly why we're back on this date specifically, because we were planning on coming back, but we never had a specific date. We wanted to do it. I mean, our Podbean account just got renewed because we knew we wanted to eventually record because we did enjoy doing it. It was just doing it during the weekdays was a little draining for us. So we're trying a different spin on things. So now I'll hand it over to you.
All right. So I'm going to talk about why we're back. And so let's see. I guess about a week ago today, to the minute, we're at a graduation party for one of Adam's lovely cousins. You know who you are. Hey, girl. And
hey,
her
girl,
friend, who seems super sweet, loyal listener, like her too.
We actually mentioned her on the podcast way back when.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
I never really know like when we mention names and when we don't. So sometimes I'm like trying to be super... mysterious and only say initials or not say names. And then one episode I said one of my friends' names Alan like legitimately 6 times in a row, and you were like, Marta, what happened to AK his initials? I'm like, oh yeah, whatever.
But with this case, we can mention first names.
That's true.
My cousin doesn't have the same last name as I do.
What? Wow, we're just giving away personal information left and right.
How's that now they have to just guess between all the millions of last names out there, and I don't think they're gonna get it.
Okay, anyway, but we were at this graduation party, which was awesome and a lot of fun, And we started talking to our 2 loyal listeners, Juliet and Sydney, and they were just talking about how much they like the podcast and some serious peer pressure if we should bring it back. And I'm a softie, mostly. Sometimes I'm not a softie, but in this case I was, just straight to the heart. Like these 2 young ladies going off to college soon, very impressionable, just very sweet, and telling me these nice things about our podcast, how my voice is great.
It sounds like you're more impressionable than they are.
Whatever. Anyway, and it was just nice to hear some positive feedback.
I have no clue if it's BS, but it was cute when they stated that.
I mean, if they didn't believe it, they just wouldn't have said anything.
That's true. But when they mentioned that they were listening to our podcast while they would do homework together, I was
that
like,
was cute. Because they said my voice was soothing, so.
Yeah, they don't like my voice, thank you very much.
If you ever want just a solo Mar podcast.
Wow.
Just a spin-off episode, 30 minutes. I'm not saying a regular. I mean, also the same for you. If you want a solo Adam podcast, feel free to reach out.
I always want to do that, but
if you want like a coding centered podcast or something about history,
I kind of want to do that when we eventually get a larger house in the future, so we have more rooms dedicated to it. Because I always wanted to do it, but in this small apartment, I feel like if I ever did a recording session, then it would limit you with you can't really do much or say much. Oh, I can go outside?
Yeah.
Even when it's like freezing Denver winters, I'd have to go outside too.
It's beautiful today, so.
Beautiful's a
90 degrees, but anyway, so after talking to the girls, we talked between ourselves. Well, actually, I kind of just promised them on the spot that we would continue because I felt bad, but I also, like Adam mentioned, we had been thinking about continuing. So this was just kind of another thing that encouraged us.
The straw that broke the camel's back, but in a positive way.
Whatever. I don't know what that means. But yeah, it broke the last one that broke the camel's back, something about a straw. And now we're here.
For anyone that's new to listening, Marta's not very good with expressions.
Oh, what was the expression I said today?
I don't know. I don't remember.
There's so many that I mess up on a daily basis. Speaking of things I mess up, there was actually a really funny Huffington Post article that I sent to Adam yesterday that was about, let me find it real quick. 29 funny tweets that will prepare you for the realities of marriage. And it was just funny because most of them are relatable. Oh, and the one that reminded me, or I just thought of just now, was the wife says, this isn't a tweet, so it says, wife, why can't you just say phrases correctly? Me, well, aren't you a ray of sunscreen? It's a ray of sunshine. So I just really resonated with that because I don't know. I just don't know expressions. And sometimes I'm very confident that I know it and I mess it up, which just is a blow to my confidence, but it's okay. It happens. So now that we're we've explained why we're here, what we're doing, should we jump into this exciting first episode back?
Yeah, this is actually episode 40, a big 4-0. That's exciting. 10 episodes away from 50.
Turning the 4-0.
Huh?
Then like turning 40?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'll be sad.
Would you consider this? No, this is a podcast considered 40? Is that, I don't know how you determine the age of a podcast, or do you just go by years? I don't know.
Like our podcast
episodes?
Will be 1 in July, right? It's
not
40. You don't measure age in weeks unless you're a baby.
It actually will turn 1 soon, though.
Yeah.
Because the pod being just restored, and
or
I know
in Adam's universe, it'll turn 40.
Okay. All right, let's move on from that stupidity that was me. I guess we'll just talk about our anniversary trip to Italy, since that was a big topic of discussion in the grad party, and we figured just flush it out more. And we always love talking about traveling.
That's true.
So we just basically, I don't know what the dates were off the top of my head. It was in May, right?
I know. It was the first full week of May. Saturday. Not that you need to know, but it was May 5th through May 12th.
Flew into and out of Rome. First night we flew in. I basically did not get any sleep, even though you're supposed to sleep on the plane, but I never can on those flights. And I just remembered getting to Rome, and then we trying to find a place to eat, and I felt like I was falling asleep as we were eating at this restaurant in Italy. That's all I remember from that day, really.
Yeah, and it was a long day since we left from Denver kind of late, and then it was a direct flight to London, and then we had a few hour layover in London. Mm-hmm. So, but with all the time difference and the travel itself, I think we didn't land in Rome until 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. And then by the time we left the airport and then took the train from the airport to the city and then walked to our hotel and checked in, it was probably 5:30 or 6, and we were tired. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't even remember if I thought that dinner was good. I just remember us both being so sleepy.
Hungry, too.
Oh,
that was the
really
thing. Yeah, I was just very sleepy. But it was nice being back in Rome and not having to worry about where to go, because we sort of booked a place that was kind of around where we booked before. So we've already have experience with that area. So we knew how to walk around and dealing with the cars is still an issue because they are.
You mean trying not to get run over?
Yeah. And pulling our bags through the cobblestone streets and sidewalks was a little bit of a hassle, especially yours, because it wasn't one of those pull ones. It was one of like the ones you could stand up straight and push.
It's the quote-unquote fancier one where it has 4 wheels instead of 2, so you can hold it horizontally versus rolling it behind.
Except for that doesn't work when you're on cobblestone. You have to have force to pull it through each cobble.
Yeah, and then there's just more wheels to get stuck in between the cracks of the sidewalk.
Yeah, but we don't need to get into the discussion of us getting to the hotel.
Really cares?
Well, I mean, people are listening. Maybe they care. But we stayed at the Hotel IQ, it was called. It was actually kind of interesting because it reminded me more of a Americanized hotel. If you I guess you would call it. It's definitely more Americanized. The rooms are still smaller because we're in Europe, but the way it was set up felt like like I said, American hotel. And I thought it was funny, if you want to get into, we mentioned that it was our anniversary to them. No. What did we mention to?
This is my story.
Oh, yeah, I was going to throw it to you, Marta. We're a little rusty, so bear with
I'm actually perfectly good. Yeah. Maybe half of us are rusty. But.
Well, I didn't get complimented on my voice or anything about me. It's not like I put this podcast together and do all the editing or anything. But no, Marta has a great voice, so yeah.
I don't know why you're bitter about it. Well, I can't get a compliment?
I'm happy you get a compliment. I would like to get a compliment, too, instead of getting shot down.
Well, sometimes that's life. You can't always be the one complimented. That's tough life lesson for...
It wasn't... Here's the thing. If you got complimented and I got nothing, that's fine. But you got complimented and I got insulted, so I think I went down.
I'm sorry, don't take it out on me.
I'm not taking it out on you.
Okay, anyway, enough distractions. So, when I booked the hotel through Expedia... And both on my passport at the time that I booked it, because I hadn't gotten my passport through my married name, both in Expedia and on my passport, I had my maiden name. So that's how I booked the hotel and the flights and everything.
Fun fact, if you ever have to change your name, it seems like such a pain in the butt.
Yeah, thank you.
For
I've
anything.
been through it.
Yeah. I know. I'm just saying, for anybody out there, I want a heads up. Maybe we can discuss it in the future of all the hassle that you had to go through.
You can easily Google it and find everything you need.
Never mind then.
If you're getting married, the first thing is you have to go to, or if you're changing your name, I guess married or divorced, but you have to go to the Social Security Administration and get a new Social Security card.
It just, so many things you have to change.
Yeah, it sucks. But anyway, so I booked it with my maiden name, and I mentioned that we were celebrating our marriage. So I guess they thought that meant honeymoon. We said that I typed that in when I was booking it under the little notes section. I said, "Oh, we're celebrating our marriage." So they left us a note in our room that addressed us as Mr. and Mrs. Churpak. Which I thought was so funny because I'm like, wait, so now my husband took my name? What? So it was a cute little... In the moment, we thought it was hilarious. Like, I texted my parents. I was like, apparently we're Mr. and Mrs. Churpak now. But we kept the note, and then I gave it to my parents because they're the actual OG Mr. and Mrs. Churpak.
OG.
I guess not. My grandparents. And then they're... I don't know who the OG would be.
Doesn't OG mean original gangster? Oh,
I just thought it meant, like, original. I thought... it was OG because original has an O and a G in it.
Good.
Okay. Didn't mean to call all my family members gangsters.
That's Marta's way of saying OG. Is original, not original gangster.
Never mind then. But yeah, funny little story. Also. I'm almost drooling just thinking about this. But
this was like the main reason. Well, not the main reason, but once we knew we were staying multiple days, or multiple nights, the one day, I think you were just super excited to go to this place to eat. Because we went there, if you go check our past episodes on our honeymoon vacation in Italy, we went to this restaurant as well as we did this time, and Marta was just super excited.
Oh, it's so good. So, it was a pizza place called Dar Poeta, DAR space POETA, and we can leave the name of it in the episode notes if you're interested or ever going to Rome.
Good to know.
It's a really good pizza place, and unlike some of the pizza places, and we'll touch on this when we discuss further of our later parts of our trip, a lot of other pizza places might just specialize in a few pizza flavors, but Dar Poeta had a ton of different ones, and I think the one that we shared had potatoes on it, and what was it, sausage or ham?
I think it was ham, yeah.
And personally, I just love potatoes, so if you're like, oh, potatoes on my pizza is weird, you do you. I thought potatoes on my pizza
delicious.
Was amazing. So good. And I love it.
And also there, they use a lot of just homemade ingredients. Like, it just all seemed more natural. Like, the ham didn't seem as processed as you would get ham here. And the potatoes seemed like they were just made and placed on the pizza. They were just roasted. Yeah. Delicious. I think you were a little upset, though, because we didn't get that dessert calzone this time as we did last time.
Is it chocolate or Nutella? It's ricotta cheese.
Nutella. They have Nutella in a lot of desserts out there.
That's true. Last time we got it, I thought the small, since we were sharing it, I thought the small wouldn't be enough, so I think I got the larger one. It's like the size of my face. It's huge. And I think that time we also both got our own pizzas.
Uh-huh.
So we barely finished our pizzas, and then they bring out this giant calzone, and we're like, so full. So this time, it was like the opposite. We're so healthy. We split one pizza, no dessert. Just incredible.
Yeah, this was before our healthy kick that we're on to now, which we'll probably get into in a future episode.
Yeah.
But by our hotel, there's a gelateria place. This is a long name. Gelateria Artigianale e Capriccio de Carla Roma Monti. I think I did an okay job. Bravo to me. Woo! I did it.
I kind of hope that we don't have any truly Italian listeners, because they'd be like, what did he just say? Can I do a shot at it?
No, I'm sure you're going to do it better. You always do. Go for it.
Okay.
No, do it.
I'll do you. I just wanted to give it a shot.
Give it. Do it. Go for it.
Gelateria Artigianale il Capriccio di Carla Roma Monti.
I'm sure it's better.
It doesn't matter. I just wanted to try it.
You just wanted to show me up. Just
bet, as always. Did you?
Wow.
After you pronounced it, did you get into what our favorite flavor was there?
No, I did not. But I enjoyed. It was delicious. I remember on the last day, I got the. Did you actually lick the microphone?
I did. I was like fake licking an ice cream
miming
cone.
Licking gelato, and you actually licked the microphone. I wonder if that caught anything on
the audio. That's hilarious. If it did.
But yeah, had delicious flavors. It was interesting though that this gelateria place didn't actually have. It didn't show the gelato, which I thought was interesting, because a lot of gelato places have them just out in the open,
like an ice cream store.
But they had them all in like these little metal canisters. I'm not sure, it was just different, and just had the flavors. And I remember I got mint chocolate chip there, or mint chocolate, delicious. But Marta's favorite flavor there was Ferrero Rocher, which for anybody's familiar, it's like a candy, not candy, but it's like a chocolate.
Yeah, it is a candy. They're little chocolate
Yeah.
Candies.
For some reason, when I say candy, I think of always think of fruit type of candy, and then when I say chocolate, I think more of it is like it's like chocolate. It's like a chocolate truffle,
Google,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not really. Google defines it as a chocolate and chocolate and hazelnut confectionery.
Oh, well,
and
Google says it. It's correct.
Must be true.
It's fact.
And a confectionery is a candy or other sweet. So, oh my gosh, the ice cream. It
tasted just like one.
It did, but also it looked like there were crushed Ferrero Rochers in there because I saw the little pieces. Divine. So good. Man, I love the food in Italy.
And I think one of the nights, I think there, I got the mint chocolate, and then I also got tiramisu flavor there.
Mm-hmm.
Tasted just like tiramisu as well. It was delicious.
Yum.
I love gelato. I really wish there was an actually legitimate gelato place here.
And don't even, if you're like, what's gelato? Isn't it ice cream?
It's not.
Please, it's not. Just spoken from two people that were in Italy recently. The texture is totally different. The way it's made is different. It tastes different. So, yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, we sound snooty as heck right now.
I don't mean to sound snooty, but if you're not familiar with something, don't make assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just because you don't know what it is doesn't mean it's the same thing as something you know.
I mean, I would say picture it as kind of just in between custard and ice cream, where it's a lot smoother and softer when you actually can just like lick it, and it's kind of like custard, but it looks like ice cream as you scoop it out. So it's creamier, I guess you could say. And it's delicious. They have amazing flavors out there. I'm shocked. Marta, last time, if anybody listened to the podcast, used to get pistachio basically every time she went to a gelato place. But I was happy. She branched out and did different things. She found Ferrero Rocher. She sort of stuck with that. I think you did a different flavor at some point. But
there was one flavor I tried at not the better Gelateria David by the train station, but the other David. David. I remember I walked out of there so disappointed. You were like, just throw it away and we'll get more gelato. I was like, no, I don't want to waste it. I forget what flavor I got. I was so unhappy with it though. I won't remember. I
can't remember all the flavors. I just remember the Ferrero Rocher that you got because you loved it so much.
Yeah.
I do remember I got a horrible combination of gelato flavors together at the Primavera Gelato place, which is another famous, quote unquote famous.
They have pictures literally
feel like
their entire wall and ceiling is covered in pictures.
I think it's Photoshop though, because the one of Julia Roberts was the one from the pizza place that we'll mention in a little bit.
Oh.
That from Eat, Pray, Love. Yeah. Seemed like they were photoshopping us to make it seem it's more famous. I don't know. But I'll just throw, because I remember the flavors vividly, that I don't know why I was doing it, because it was kind of packed and I was like in a rush and I panicked to try and decide of what I wanted. I think I ended up picking coffee and lime. Worst combination.
Whoa, that does sound horrible.
I thought it was mint because it said menta and then /lime, but I guess I just missed being dumb. And I ended up choosing that for some dumb reason. And normally I get good compliments, but for some reason this time I was flustered and couldn't pick properly, and just because of the way the gelato place is set up, which I don't like, is it's like a long glass window and there's so many flavors, but you can't see the flavors at the beginning as you can see at the end, so it's hard to choose what exactly you want. But yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So enough gelato talk for now. We'll talk more when we talk about later parts of our trip. But our time in Rome was short, so the last morning before we hopped on a train to our next part, we looked, I forget how we found this place, but we got breakfast at an espresso bar.
You found it. Was it in Rick Steve's?
I'm not sure if it might have been, since I relied on that book heavily.
Yeah, you did. If the restaurant wasn't in Rick Steve's, you're not going.
But it was called Bar La Licata, and it was right within sight of the Colosseum. So we didn't quite mention this directly, but this trip, and especially our time in Rome, since we only had a few nights before we moved on, since our last trip we did a lot of, really primarily most of the main sites in Rome. Mm-hmm. So this trip just felt a lot more slow paced, but it was still cool to see the Colosseum from a distance because it was like, oh, we didn't directly visit it this time, but we can kind of peek through and see this major historical building just kind of in the middle of the city.
Did you say it was the Coliseum?
Yeah.
That it was next to? Okay.
Yeah, I just said that.
Sorry, I was looking up to see if Rick Stevens mentioned the bar place.
Oh.
I couldn't find it.
And it was really funny. So we walked up, and there were so many people already inside and a few people waiting outside. So we walk up, and the main hostess / also waiter guy's like,
5 minutes.
5 minutes. And then we're like, okay, we're not really in a rush. And then a couple comes behind us, maybe a minute or two later. And they're also peeking in, trying to see if there's any tables. And he's like, oh, 5 minutes. And I'm like, okay. So
I just, that sounds like the generic term that he uses.
Yeah. So I just kept track of the time. I think I ended up being
15?
Like 15 and 20. But I felt bad because it seemed like there was one waiter for a ton of tables, and he was just
very busy,
running around, scrambling, and seemed overwhelmed. But Adam said his eggs were...
Well, let's put in the context that most of these... there's no actual breakfast place in Italy. It's like the concept of, I think, going to a sit-down breakfast place is not really a thing. It's more of you go, and if you want to have breakfast, it's more like a croissant or a lot of... That's what I remember seeing in Florence and stuff like that. It was just all bakery stuff, not actually like a meal.
Traditional American breakfast.
Yeah, American breakfast, I should say. So going there, they had the breakfast Americano, I think. That's what it was called, right?
Yeah.
But it came with eggs, I think bread, and a salad, and then bacon, I think, or ham. And the salad was just like a big thing of romaine lettuce with some big things of tomatoes on top, and that was basically it. But the eggs there, surprisingly, I was shocked, were delicious. My favorite eggs of all time. I don't know why. I don't know if they cooked it in bacon grease or what, but it was delicious. Probably my favorite eggs that I've ever had. And that's not, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic or anything. I can never make eggs that good. I've never tasted any eggs here at any brunch place that were that good either, from what I remember.
Very impressive story. Eggs. Or I guess the story wasn't impressive. The eggs.
And normally the reason we're telling this story is that I'm not a big eggs fan person per se. Like I'll choose anything else besides eggs, but since that was the breakfast option, so I went with it. And I don't know, eggs always seemed bland to me. The texture was always off. Never felt right. Didn't have the proper mouth feel, as some people say. You're giving me a weird term, but that's like an actual term I think they use for when they're trying to figure out how to market or how to produce like things in restaurants and stuff like that. If it feels good in your mouth, then people like it more.
Anyway, I'm glad the eggs
goodness.
had a good mouth feel. So after we had this breakfast, then we went back to our hotel room, packed up the rest of our belongings, and hopped on a train.
Hopped on a train to LAX.
No. We hopped on a train to Naples, Italy. There's also Naples, Florida.
Fun
I've
fact.
heard people talk about it. I've heard people mention Naples, and I was like, Naples, Italy? What are you talking? And then I realized they were talking about Florida.
I think at a certain point they just ran out of city names, so they just started copying other ones.
Ugh. Story of Ohio. Remember when we drove here?
Yeah, I think we mentioned that on
here?
the moving podcast.
Because it's so annoying. It's like Baltimore, Ohio. I'm like, no. Baltimore is in Maryland. You can use Schmaltimore, but you can't just copy another state's name.
How come I feel like you used that joke in that episode as well?
Probably did. I only have so many jokes I can store in my brain. Okay,
that's not true. You're a clever girl, woman, lady, person.
I'm a clever girl, woman, lady person. Anyway, so yeah, we took a high-speed train to Naples, and
should we get off our opinions right away about Naples?
Yeah, I was about to get to it.
Walked out. Okay, I didn't know because the way the notes are set up. I just thought you were going right into the pizza place.
No. I was going to talk about it.
Okay.
Wasn't really personally a huge fan of Naples.
Me either.
When we first walked out of the train station, it just seemed dirty. And I want to say crowded, but I don't know if that's fair because any major city is crowded.
Yeah.
But it just felt like...
grimy?
Yeah. I don't know. I really was not impressed. And I thought I had in my back pocket, we had a Rick Steves Italy guidebook, and he had a walking tour in Naples. So we thought, because, I mean, we weren't in a rush. We were continuing on in our journey to Sorrento on another train, but we still had to stop in Naples. So we're like, maybe we can explore, but neither of us were feeling it. I remember looking at each other, and we were both kind of not interested in spending a lot of time there.
And I guess we just got used to other Italian cities like Florence and Rome and being around them, and just Naples was just drastically different. It felt different, looked different.
I also don't know,
kind of like a hustle and bustle of, I would say, like a New York City, but it's not obviously not that big. But it kind of felt closed in, like cramped like that, and then a little bit grimy. But I mean, what do I know? I just only saw portions of it.
That's what I was about to say. I'm not sure, since usually train stations aren't the most glamorous, and the areas around it aren't necessarily the best neighborhoods, and the route that we took to get lunch, I'm not sure if we just got caught in a bad part of it.
I don't know if it was bad part or just it, because it was so dark, and it was dark mainly because the alleyways were so tight together.
Yeah, we walked through some alleyways,
and you couldn't see, there wasn't much light as you would expect during the daytime.
Yeah. But
yeah, we went exploring for this one pizza place that was recommended all throughout Naples. Walked alleyway to alleyway. It seemed like we were walking for a while in some unique parts.
Knew that. I had the directions on Google Maps.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying it just felt like a while because it was a long walk. And then we finally got there. It said it closed at 3? That's what it said.
Wait. Are you talking about the one that we ended up eating at?
No, I'm talking about the one
we went to the other one first. Remember?
Yeah, but what's the point of mentioning that?
Because we ended up eating there.
Yeah, I know we ended up eating there, but we came back to it after the fact.
Yeah.
Because we didn't want to wait because the one Pizza de la Michelle, was that what it's called?
No. L'Antica Pizzeria de Michelle.
Yeah, thanks. They get the gist. But it was very packed. There was like a long line outside, and kind of didn't want to wait in it. And also, Rick Steves mentioned this other pizza place was the best pizza he's ever tasted. So we decided to go to this one pizza place. I don't remember what it was called exactly.
I don't know. It doesn't matter because we didn't eat there.
Yeah. They don't get our hot pod recommendation. We didn't eat there. Exactly. But we walked all the way there. Said it closed at 3. We were there at 2:20, I would think. Right?
I thought it closed at 3:30 and we were there at like 3:15. So we thought we had a little bit of wiggle room.
No, that was like 3. And we were definitely there at least 30 minutes before. I remember it being a little confusing that when we walked in, they said they were closed, even though there was people sitting down to eat. And there was still, I think, 30 minutes left in the whatever Google said was their closing time. Who knows? Because I think realizing in Italy, sometimes shops just close down whenever they want, because that one gelato place in Sorrento where we're at just had a random day off, which was surprising. And there wasn't no indication of why, just was.
Yeah, that was weird.
But then we went back to this pizzeria, if you want to discuss it, Marta.
Yeah, so this pizzeria is actually pretty well known. It's called L'Antica Pizzeria da Michelle. And fun fact, a scene of the movie Eat, Pray, Love was shot there with Julia Roberts. And they also have a picture of her with the main chef and some of the main wait staff there, which it seems like from the pictures they've been working there for many years, because a lot of them look like older gentlemen now, and in the pictures they look relatively young. But the whole experience was interesting. So after we went to the other pizza place and it was closed and we were really mad because we were so hungry, then we walked back, and then it was kind of weird. So there was a line outside, but it wasn't like a single file line. There was also people crowding around the front, and we really didn't know what was going on.
So picture kind of like how you would get an order in a deli counter where you have to take a ticket. That's basically what this was. So for people that wanted to sit down and also order out, everybody had a ticket, I think. Yeah.
You, just like a deli counter, you grab a ticket, and then they call you. So you can get takeout, but you also can sit inside. But it's a pretty small place, so they didn't have many tables. Mm-hmm. So they had those tickets. So as soon as the table got up, they would call the next number and have you seated. And I think we ended up waiting, was it around 30 minutes? Maybe a little less?
I think it was a little less, yeah.
So, I mean, it was a long time to wait when hungry, but compared to how long we thought, because there were a lot of numbers to get through before us, it was better than what we expected wait time-wise.
Yeah, and it was very delicious pizza, in my opinion. Because if anybody ends up going there, they only serve 2 types of pizza, margarita and marina. And I think margarita
Marinara.
Oh. I think that's spelled wrong. But, yeah, that's on me. It was marinara. Margarita and marinara. One was just straight, like a tomato pie. And the other one had cheese on it. And I think Marta and I ended up just getting 2 different styles just to taste them. And I think, Marta, you wanted to tell the story, right? Of what exactly happened with our whole ordering the pizza situation.
Yeah. Quick thing before I forget. So this pizza place also has a location in Florence, which we went to last year.
Oh, yeah, that's what I wanted to mention.
But the original one is in Naples, which is why I knew that we had to go through Naples, and I wanted to stop there because it was the original.
OG, as you would say.
Location.
And it was also interesting that in Florence, they had a lot more options. That's why when coming to this, I thought there was going to be just like the one in Florence where you would have a menu and they have more options. But the fact that they're just like, you get 2 pizzas, one or the other. You have to decide. And that's
I wouldn't even call it a menu.
Yeah.
It was just this small, almost a little bit bigger than the size of a postcard.
It's kind of what you see at restaurants where they have like those on each table. They have the stand-up things that show portions of the menu, like a drink side or a
like just a
dessert
one-pager
side. Yeah,
type.
one-page thing that's on the table. But that was their menu.
Yeah, and it was, like Adam mentioned, the margarita pizza, which is the mozzarella cheese with a lot of greens. There was just one basil leaf. That was sarcastic. One basil leaf on top. And then the marinara. But anyway, so they have on this little thing on the table. Actually, I think it was taped to the wall. And it's almost like I think it was plastic tables, and they just seat a bunch of different parties or couples
all over the place.
Right, like literally right next to each other. Like imagine going to a restaurant and sitting at a 6-person table, but having 3 sets of couples all next to each other. But it was kind of a cool, casual, family style vibe. It definitely wasn't fancy at all. But anyway, so we're looking at the menu and we're like, oh, should we split a pizza? And I was thinking, oh, I don't know how big they are, which is silly because pizzas are never a tiny little circle. They're always a large serving. But we decided to both get one of each, one of the margarita, one marinara, and then either share or eat. If we both liked different ones, then just eat whichever one we enjoyed more. So we got one of each, and they have different sizes. I forget what the first 2 were called, but then they have a max or maxi, like the largest size. So we ordered our pizzas and just pointed. We said like, oh, one margarita, one marinara. And then we got our pizza. I think Adam finished his and I almost did. And I took it in a box with us later and finished it that night. And then they don't bring out a check or anything. They just write, at least for us, they wrote the total on the pizza box that we took to go. And it said 10 euros. And I was like, that's weird because the pizza, it says it's 4 euros here. And he is like, he points to the maxi size on the little menu sheet. It's like, oh, 5. And I was like, we didn't order the largest one. And what was funny was that while we were sitting there, a couple, or a group of friends or family, I forget exactly, but they were sitting to my left, Adam's right. And they got pizzas that were maybe our size, maybe a little smaller. And our pizza was, think of like a large dinner plate, a little larger than that. The pizza was hanging off the plate. It was huge. And I remember looking at it. I was like, Adam, I don't really know how big the maxi size is because our pizzas are already hanging off the plate. There's nowhere else. It can't get any bigger.
And we did say normal when we ordered.
Yeah. And so when he was like, oh, maxi, I was like, kind of annoyed, but it was literally €2 more total.
Yeah.
And €10 for lunch. That's...
Shoot, I ate all of it, so I can't be mad.
And honestly, for the quality of the pizza, I would have paid more.
And I had the marinara one, which was mostly just tomato sauce with, I think, like garlic mixed in it. So it wasn't as filling if it was the margarita one where it was just a bunch of cheese. So
Very cheesy.
So I can understand why you had trouble finishing all of it, because just the cheese probably just adds an extra layer of stuff you have to get through.
Yeah, but that was a really funny story. We walked out like, wow. We went from practically judging people that get the largest size to almost downing the... Well, almost...
I downed the one and you almost did the other.
So that was funny.
And then we literally carried, because after that was our trek to Sorrento, which we mainly chose, I think it's south of Naples, right?
Yep, Sorrento is south of Naples.
So we trekked to Sorrento because we wanted to stay there, because it's kind of we researched and it was a central point if you want to go explore Capri and the Amalfi Coast and things of that nature. And we'll get into it in a little bit. But we carried the pizza in the pizza box all the way from Naples to Sorrento.
Not we. I was holding it in my arm on the crowded train.
But I carried it. I feel like I carried it during a good portion of it, remember? And then you held it during the train part because you didn't have to wheel the thing anymore. Because that was the main issue, is you had to wheel the suitcase along with the pizza box. But I just held the pizza on the walk to the train station. But yeah, that was an interesting trek to get to Sorrento, because you had a pizza box on you on the train, and the train was so crowded. It was packed to the max. It kind of what I would expect a New York train would be, or what you would say probably the metro train in DC was like in the mornings when going to work.
DC was a little more crowded, but this was way more crowded than what I expect for a commuter train.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I guess there's a lot of tourists there, so I should have expected more people.
Yeah, and it was like a 40-minute train ride, because the train wasn't a high-speed train. It was one of the just regional ones, so they went slower. But we ended up getting to Sorrento, walking through the town, and then up a long gradual hill to our hotel, Bel Air Hotel in Sorrento. And we walked in with the pizza box and everything, and you ate it that night.
I did. I almost... It just felt so... I don't know, like, if I should say teenage girl or college girl, but it just felt so silly. Sitting in this nice hotel on vacation in Italy, eating pizza out of a pizza box on the bed at like 9 p.m.
That's life right there.
But it was so good. It was even good cold.
It was delicious.
I can't believe the thought even crossed my mind to throw it away at some point. But I'm so glad I didn't. It was so yummy.
But I want to give a shout out to actually this Bel Air hotel that we stayed at, which wasn't too expensive from what I remember. But if anybody goes to Sorrento, there's like a main area of Sorrento, like the main piazza and a lot of the shops and everywhere you can go down. I forget the road, but to get to this hotel Bel Air, you actually have to walk past all the main areas and walk up this windy road. So you walk up, it's like a slight incline sort of. Via Capo. And the hotel, funny enough, when you're walking up, it's not actually like a hotel you would think that's like rising above the street. It's actually because it's on a cliffside, kind of. It's actually embedded into the cliffside. So there's like a little sign with an elevator to go down. So all the floors, if you're on the 5th floor, it's technically you have to go down 5 floors instead of going up. Just it was a unique difference. But I just loved our room that we stayed at. We had a nice little terrace or a balcony to walk out, and you just overlooked the water. If anybody follows me on Insta or Marta, I think we posted a story way back when of the view, and it was gorgeous, and it was just amazing. So I would recommend anybody if they want to go to that place. And it's free breakfast. It was delicious. Breakfast was included.
And for breakfast, I mean, they didn't have eggs because I don't think that's really as popular in Italy for breakfast. But they had a lot of different pastries. They had a little mini pancake machine that was cute. They had different, meats and cheeses, so you could make a little sandwich.
For the pancake machine, didn't you accidentally press it real quick and it made a little tiny pancake?
Yeah, the pancake machine was a little conveyor belt, so you just press the button and it drops the batter onto this conveyor machine, and then as it's moving, it gets cooked from the heat of the machine, and then it just plops down. So obviously you're supposed to put a plate there so it doesn't just plop down on the counter. But the first day I didn't really know how it worked because it was just this one button. There's no instructions. I'm like, okay, I guess I just press it. So I think I did it, and then I was like, I don't know if it works. So I did it again. But the first press was so quick, so my pancake was so small. It was so
size
cute.
of a dime, probably, or quarter.
Yeah, the size of a small coin. It was so small. But I had fun with that pancake machine. I mean, it didn't make big pancakes. It's not like I was eating 2 pancakes the size of my face. They were always pretty tiny, but
very modest sized. But I respect what they had for breakfast because they allowed you to make mimosas. They knew what was up. Just bottomless mimosas. They had freshly squeezed orange juice with some champagne. Great way to start off a day. 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I don't really remember how early we ate, but some days earlier than others.
Depending on where we wanted to go.
Yeah.
But I just want to give a shout out to that hotel. It was very nice. Recommend staying there. It was beautiful. Very pretty.
It was. And a kind of funny random thing, but so since our hotel was up this road via Capo from the main town and where the plaza is and the water is and all of that, there was a sign that we always saw and we just joked about. It said, typical Sorrento garden. I guess it was some sort of garden. We never actually went into it to see. But it just, what a sassy sign. Like, it sounds like, I mean, I guess the culture is different, but.
Literally every time we walked past it, you pointed it out.
Yeah. It's like, oh, just another typical Sorrento garden. And then I would laugh at my own joke. But it was funny. I kind of wish we had gone and seen it to see if it was a typical garden or was it a little bit different. I don't know. But yeah.
Do we want to get into Sorrento itself first before we go into what we did around Sorrento, like the walking tour that we did and just the town itself? Because there was like a nice little piazza that had a bunch of cars driving around, and there was like a throughway of traffic, and we did a walking tour throughout it. It was just like I don't know why you don't hear about it more from people traveling to the Amalfi Coast about a place to stay. I mean, I know people say the Amalfi Coast is beautiful, which we'll get to, and it definitely is beautiful. But I think Sorrento is no slouch in the view of itself. Like, in of itself, it's beautiful.
And I liked that Sorrento didn't feel as
small.
I mean, it felt No.
Oh.
It felt touristy because it's a big tourist location, and like Adam mentioned earlier, it is a good hub if you're trying to check out Amalfi Coast and just other stuff in the area. It's pretty easily accessible either by boat or train or by bus to different locations. But it just felt more relaxing. Like, to me, this is where I think I differ from some people in traveling, but to me, when I go somewhere where I know is famous and I know is super touristy and there are like specific views or specific locations that are supposed to get the perfect picture, a lot of times I'm like, not really feeling this. Like, I got that feeling sometimes in a place where I know people would probably like not understand that feeling, but I just like places that are beautiful but are a little bit more casual and where I can just sit in a quiet plaza and enjoy a drink or enjoy an appetizer and not feel like I have to run off and get the perfect picture of XYZ. So I liked Sorrento in that sense, and I thought our view from our room was also beautiful, and just enjoying the balcony was another activity that just felt relaxing for sure.
Yeah, we walked around Sorrento, a nice piazza. There's that Fauna bar that you enjoyed. One of like the dishes there was like a homemade pasta dish.
I forget what the type of pasta. I want to say linguine, but I don't really know my pastas.
Wasn't it like the curly ones?
No, it was the long flat one.
Oh, I want to say fettuccine, but fettuccine was thicker. This was a smaller one, right?
I mean, it wasn't spaghetti small. It was like a little.
Okay.
Thicker. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was homemade pasta, and the pasta itself was so good. And then it had some sort of buttery sauce, I think, and then it had octopus, which I really like seafood, and I like octopus. And it was a lot of it, too, because I remember one time I went to a restaurant with my family for a birthday or some sort of celebration, and we ordered also some other dish with octopus. And I remember it came with, like, maybe one piece or, like, a tiny piece or 2 tiny pieces. And I remember we talked to the waiter. We were like, you're charging this much money for this much octopus? And we were so upset. And the waiter brought out, like, an entire plate filled with octopus. And we were very happy and thankful. And I think we gave him a good tip because, I mean, really, it's kind of obnoxious to charge a lot of money for a dish and then barely
skimp out on the meat stuff.
Skimp out on the thing that you're outlining. Like, if you're calling it an octopus dish, don't call it that. Call it a pasta dish with some sprinkling of octopus. I think sometimes the wording is very misleading, and I don't like it. Don't like that.
Don't like it at all.
But yeah, I had that dish twice because we went to that restaurant, and it was really cute because they had a lot of tables outside and just a nice chill.
Bought some drinks and just people watched as they were going through the piazza. It was nice. One thing that I want to mention in the walking tour, actually 2 things that I thought were really cool and just really, I just liked observing it. There was a portion, if you go to Sorrento and you look in the direction of the Fauna Bar, down just that way where cars are coming. If you walk all the way down to like a hotel, I forget what the hotel's called, but there's like a little
Excelsior Victoria, I believe.
No, you're talking about that was the large one, the pink one.
Oh, I don't know which one you're talking about then.
I'm talking about first one to talk about. If you follow what I was just saying and go down that road, there's like an overhang, and you look down and there's like an old looking building. I think it was like a mill of some kind, with fauna growing around it, and it was just really cool looking down and looking at like the ancient structure that they had way back when, and the fact that it was all the way down there. And then the other thing that I like doing, we sort of branched off the walking tour. We were supposed to go one way, but we ended up going another way, and we ended up walking down these steps by the coast, and just took these steps down, and it was kind of cool to see how people, if they docked on the port of Sorrento, how they would have to walk up all these steps back in the day to get into town, and just seeing the ancient walls that were basically up against the Sorrento village or city. I just thought that was cool.
Yeah, in historic times, I think Sorrento would be really an excellent location because the natural geography of it is, like you mentioned, a huge cliff. It's not like a beach town where you can just take a stroll and be on the sand.
Yeah.
It was a cliff, and then at the bottom of the cliff they had, I don't know if it was man-made, but they had a little bit of sand. The water was way too cold for us to swim at that time, but it really would be like a nature's fort, because if you're a boat just swimming along in the Mediterranean and you see this giant cliff, you're like, probably keep swimming because this is going to be a pain in my butt to climb up.
Yeah, that was the cool thing about that side, that coast, Sorrento and the Amalfi Coast, is that it was just more cliffs than anything. For some reason, I was thinking more like a beach, but silly me. But a lot of it was just beautiful. It's just like a cliff that dropped off into the ocean, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, you're right. It's like a nature's fort. Because if you pull up trying to invade Sorrento, you then have to do a long climb up all these steps and gates and everything.
Yep.
But yeah, additionally on the walking tour, since Sorrento's known for this, we went to see a lemon grove. You were really excited about that, Marta.
Yeah, I took a bunch of pictures of
lemons
and trees and all of that.
Because the lemons there were huge.
Well, I don't think the ones in the trees were, but the one little side store.
No, a lot of the farmers market had, like, different markets had just gigantic lemons.
But I mean, like in the lemon grove, I don't remember seeing giant.
Probably because they were still growing on the tree, and if they were giant, they would have fallen off the little branch.
And I don't think all of the lemons were giant. I think that's just a type of lemon.
I don't know. Maybe not.
I mean,
all
I know
lemons.
because in the store they had normal sized lemons.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that I've never seen lemons that size before.
Oh, but they weren't all. It was like half or. But yeah, there was one. It was funny to see the dichotomy between the normal size lemon that you'd see in a grocery store and these. I almost equated them to sumo oranges. If you've seen them, they're oranges but really big, and they have like this weird cellulite texture. That's almost like what those really big lemons reminded me of. Although obviously they wouldn't be as good as oranges because they'd be sour. But yeah, literally lemons everywhere. Lemons branded on everything you could find in a gift store. Like not cloths. Like kitchen towels, plates, anything kitchen related, and just Christmas ornaments. I wish I liked lemons. But then the Lemon Grove gave out free...
but you were so excited about lemons. I thought you liked lemons at that time.
I was excited because I was never a fan of eating plain lemons, but...
You like the lemon flavor?
I like the lemon flavor, and I just thought, let me be open-minded and try it. And then we tried the limoncello at the Lemon Grove, and I was like, okay, I have to like this, It's
natural.
Fresh lemons, natural. I did not like it. It was the same exact limoncello taste that I don't like that I've had previously, but
we bought lemon biscottis for our parents, and they were delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was lemon flavor, not actual. Doesn't taste like a lemon.
Yeah. But that was cool to just walk around the town and see different sights.
You want to get into more of what we did outside of Sorrento now?
Yeah.
So the first we did, we're 56 minutes into this thing. Man, this is going to be a long returning episode. I hope people enjoy it. You think they're enjoying it right now?
I think so.
Okay. So the first place we went to was Pompeii. And you've been there multiple times before, right? Twice, I think?
Twice before, yep.
And I think we ended up using, if you listened to the last Italy podcast, we mentioned the audio tour app that Rick Steves has, and we actually used it for Pompeii. And it was actually really well done, which is not surprising because he has well done tours all over Italy and other places in Europe. So recommend if you do go to Pompeii, check out his app so you don't have to purchase another audio tour somewhere else. And it's probably longer because this one's like 30 minutes long. But I don't know about you, but I love seeing the ancient architecture of Pompeii and the fact that it was still intact, mainly because the fact that it was, I know it's tragic, it was covered in ash and everything, but the fact that it was covered in ash from Pompeii erupting, or Mount Vesuvius erupting, caused it to be safe from other natural disasters or man-made disasters like bombings and such, that it protected all the architecture when it was finally dug up. So now when you go back, it's kind of like you're hopped back into ancient times of how everything would be laid out, like the market and the buildings. And it was cool listening to Rick Steves and like the ingenious designs of everything. So in Pompeii, the sidewalks would have like little parts of it, like circular. It was made of stone, but they had like little portions of it that were marble, that the main purpose of it was at night the moonlight would reflect off of it, so you'd have more light walking around, which I thought was really cool. And then when you look at the streets, it's kind of or you look at the cobblestone streets, they have these like large slab of stone sticking out, and it's used as like a traffic indication of whether it's a one-way or two-way street, which I thought was really cool. So certain streets were only one way and other streets were two ways, so carts could fit through. I just thought that was really cool. And just all the architecture and stuff. Another thing I thought was cool was they had these old kind of fast food. Rick Steves called it a fast food place. But there would be like food places where when you walk up, there's a large countertop, kind of what you expect in today's place where you order food. But they had these not gigantic, but these large holes in them that were like pitted. So people would stick pots there. So when people were hungry, they would go to this store or restaurant and order kind of food, and they would just serve it, because back then the idea, I think, of a kitchen in your house wasn't really a thing. You would always have to eat out, kind of. Well, I know you went to Pompeii multiple times, but I think you mentioned that this was your favorite time going, but not just because of me, even though I think part of it was, but listening to Rick Steves and his tour, I think you mentioned that you liked hearing all the context of all the history, right?
Yeah, and I think after I reflected on why I enjoyed this experience perhaps more, I don't really remember. So I went once with some friends on a post-graduation Europe trip, which was, I signed up to go with friends, but it was a guided tour through Europe where like other people could join too. So it's not like we just planned the trip on our own. And then in high school, I went with my parents, but I really don't remember that one at all, at least the Pompeii part. I do remember walking around the town and looking for restaurants and stuff, but I don't remember the actual Pompeii ruins experience. But I was thinking back to when I went, I guess almost 3 years ago to the day. Well, 2 years and 11 months, but whatever. And
who's counting?
When I went then, since I was talking with my friends and since we had an in-person tour group leader, I find that a lot of times I don't like when I can't do something at my own pace, because when there's a tour group leader, it's you do this at this time, they explain this, you keep walking, they keep talking. It's not really, A, it's not personalized, and B, it's on their own timeline. So if I want to talk about something with one of my friends or appreciate this for longer, there's not really that flexibility. Whereas what I liked with the Rick Steves audio tour that we did was, A, I had that flexibility if I wanted to spend more time looking at something, or if Adam wanted to spend more time looking at something. And it was our own audio, so if we wanted to pause it or skip something or re-hear something that we might have missed, it just felt more informative than previously.
And also, I think it feels like they trim the fat of some, like the audio tours that you would take there, because a lot of times other audio tours, or just tours in general, they go nitty-gritty detail of everything that you can see. And at least that's what it seems like with Rick Steves' tour. He tells you like the gist of it and gives like an explanation and hits all the necessary stuff, like the cool stuff. So you're not just staring at, I don't know, like a column for however long and just listening to somebody talk. And it's less personal, I think.
Yeah, and to be honest, personally, I am not interested in a 2 or 3 hour plus tour of Pompeii, because I would rather get a summary of what the main points are, and then if I want to explore something else further, then I will, but I don't want to hear about every single building, because to be honest, a lot of it is speculation, and a lot of it looks very similar, so I don't need to see every building, kitchen, every this, every that, personally. But I know if someone's more into that type of history and detail, then it might be more interesting.
I also think it keeps us more engaged when we do the Rick Steves tour, because after he explains what certain things are, then he tells us how to get to the next place. But in this case, certain roads were blocked off, so we kind of had to work our way around trying to navigate ourselves through the streets of Pompeii, which I thought was kind of cool and made it more exciting.
Yeah, that's true. Any other thoughts on Pompeii?
No, I mean, there's one, for some reason it just popped into mind. You remember the picture that we saw of one of the houses of like a merchant? It was like somebody in his genitalia hanging on one part of the scale and then money on the other. And it was just a very interesting picture, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was funny.
I guess we'll move on to Capri. Do you want to talk about this?
Sure, because I think it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Or at least was funny in the moment. So the next day, one day we did the walking tour of Sorrento and kind of just took it slow. Another day we went to Pompeii. And then another day we went to the island of Capri. So Capri is an island off of the mainland of Italy. So it's, what was it? A 45-minute ferry ride or less?
It depends on if you're doing high speed or... But I think high speed was 30, normal speed is 40 maybe.
Yeah, so it was a pretty easy ferry ride. And I was very nervous because I can get seasick, but I felt fine. I mean, I I think we both took Dramamine just as preventative measures.
Yeah, because you don't want to be on a boat with feeling nauseous all the way there.
Yeah.
Because that just makes your trip even worse.
Very true. So we took this ferry to Capri, and then we got there, and the ferry and all the boats land in this marina area, so it's very touristy, and there's lots of bicycles and cars and taxis and buses and just everything to get these tourists to where they want to be. And I had a few things that I wanted to do. So one of them was we wanted to get to the top of Mont Solero. Mm-hmm. So Mont Solero is on the top of the island. I think it's technically on Anacapri. So Anacapri is literally the left side of the island, and the right side, or Anacapri is the town on the left side of the island, and Capri is the town on the right side of the island. But I think the island as a whole is referred to as Capri.
Well, Anacapri, doesn't that mean just above Capri, right? Didn't we find that out?
Yeah, I think you're right. Which makes sense because it was
higher up.
Mount Solero is the highest point, which is height-wise, above Capri. And the way to get there is to take a single-person chairlift. Mm-hmm. So, we did that. But to backtrack a little bit, we wanted to get to the bottom of where the actual chairlift left. So I was looking at the map. We had downloaded Google Maps
offline.
On our phones. Yeah, offline, so we could check out the roads and such without using data. And then I was looking at the road. I was like, yeah, Adam, I think we can definitely walk there. Because personally, if it's a nice day outside and it's a new place, I'd rather walk around than get on a bus and be smushed with a bunch of people. And I don't know. I just felt like walking. So we started walking along this road, and I'm looking at Google Maps. I'm like,
because it looks like there's a path directly from off this road directly to Anacapri area. Right?
Yeah, and on the map, it's also a dotted line. So we're like, yeah, just follow this road, and then there's this dotted line, and then we'll get to this other road.
Not thinking what the dotted line could possibly be.
Yeah, not really. Had no idea. So we're walking along this road, and then we see a very short set of stairs to because the road was windy, so this short set of stairs just cut across instead of having to do the loop. I'm like, okay. Then we're walking along the road again, and then we see another set of stairs, but this one's a little longer. I'm like, I think we should go here.
Keep going. We're good.
Literally, I would say at this point, I had no idea where I was going. I was just guessing, and as long as the little blue dot on Google Maps was moving closer to Anacapri, I was like, I think
golden.
This is good. We're on the right track. And I remember a little bit in, Adam was like, I don't know if this is a good idea. Where are we going? I was like, definitely, don't worry about it. We got this.
Didn't right after that we hit a sign, right?
And then we saw a sign that said, what was it, 2 hours?
Yeah, 2 hours.
Anacapri, 2 hours. I was like,
huh?
This is a tiny island. What are you talking? This is ridiculous. 2 hours maybe for a snail.
And then I think if you're at that sign and you look to the direction, you look to the right towards Anacapri or the direction towards it, I think you can start seeing the inclination rise up. I don't know if we saw that fact that it was what we had to do then, but yeah, I think we looked up and realized how much higher up we needed to go because I guess we just didn't realize.
And just since we can't quite explain how far we walked, I just found on my phone that day we climbed 94 flights of stairs.
Yes.
And over 24,000
steps. We looked to the right, and it started the whole stairs, stairs just started. And I remember walking thinking, it's probably fine. And then we got to a point where we could see up higher, and I feel like it just looked so high up with where people were walking. And not many people were taking this route. It seemed like other people were just taking buses.
Yeah. But if you want to Google to see kind of what we were walking up, it's the trail itself was called Scala, Scala, Phoenicia, Fenicia. But the actual steps are called the Phoenician steps. So if you Google that, there's a steep, lengthy staircase that leads from the marina to the mountaintop. Although I would say that probably ended up being one of my favorite experiences out of the whole trip, really, because
it was a great. It was tiring at the time, but it was something that we can look back to and realize that we did that.
I mean, it was crazy spontaneous, which made it fun. Also, it was hot because we were hiking uphill, but it wasn't hot like, oh my gosh, I'm, uncomfortable.
Gonna have a heat stroke or something.
Yeah. And the view, I mean, when you're walking up, you see the water and the rest of the island and the marina, and it's just really beautiful view. So it's not like sometimes when you do a hike and all you see is the trees around you. I mean, that's a different experience, but this one just felt more open and just very beautiful. But so anyway,
after walking up 94 flights of stairs,
then we finally, so it was weird. We hit the trail intersected with the road, and I was like, ugh, watching these cars drive by is tough because we just walked so far. But then we walked for maybe a quarter of a mile past that road, and there was livelihood. Because we saw more people, and we were like, we have to be near something. And then we saw all these little shops and a lot more tourists. But that did not take 2 hours.
No.
So I was right in laughing at their estimate.
Yeah, I don't know what that estimate was. Maybe it was for if people take a nice little long walk up. But that sort of reminds me, we're definitely going to need to talk about the difference between, in the future, this staircase versus another staircase that we had to experience in Colorado.
That's true.
We'll be able to dissect the differences, juxtapose them together.
True. But after this hike, then we finally made it to the bottom of the chairlift and took this one passenger per chairlift, so it was kind of strange.
A little sketchy, a little to say the least. But it was a gorgeous view for most of the ride up.
Yeah, it was gorgeous until, mind you, the whole reason we did this was that it's at the top of the island. You're supposed to have stunning views. Nothing's above you. We get there, literally a cloud of fog. Mm-hmm. Like, we cannot, at some point on the chairlift up, we were in the middle of this fog.
Yeah, it looked like we were just going into the abyss.
It was a little bit ominous, to be honest. So then we get to the top, nothing.
Can't see a thing.
So underwhelming, so disappointing. Can't see anything. No view. Like, might as well just have not gone because we couldn't see anything that we came for.
But we got good views when we were walking up those staircases.
Which is another reason why I was very glad that we did that, because if we just taken a bus, we probably just would have been sitting at our phone or looking at the guidebook and not seen the view.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny because as soon as we got there, we're like, are you serious? We paid money for the chairlift. We sat on this kind of not sketchy, but just nerve-wracking, I would say, because I'd never been on a single chairlift, and it just looked a little older.
And it wasn't like the usual chairlifts or the chairlifts that you see at ski lifts, where they slow down more and everything. This thing is just booking around that corner to come hit you in the butt to pull you up.
Yeah. So after that sad experience, then we went over to Capri, and we after we took the chairlift back down, we actually just walked the same exact route back down to the marina, and then took something called a funicular, which, if you're not familiar with what a funicular is, you can Google it, but it's also a cable, like a cable car train type situation.
Exactly how I would describe it.
That's usually on very steep inclines. So think of a train, but very steep train, and it also has a cable car and goes very, very slowly. So this funicular takes you from the main marina area up to the town of Capri, where we pretty much had lunch, walked around, and had amazing tiramisu.
Yeah. At a hotel. Was it Michelangelo restaurant?
Yeah, Michelangelo restaurant.
No offense, not that original, but still delicious place to eat. And I liked Capri. The architecture I thought was very interesting. A lot of white, I don't know, it wasn't marble, but it was like white stone the buildings were made out of, and it was unique to say the least. And I enjoyed the views. It stunk that we couldn't see the whole thing at the top, but it was still nice. I don't think I would recommend staying there. I remember us discussing this, where exactly we were going to stay, and the fact that being on the island, then you're kind of locked into being there all the time. And Capri is more expensive because it's a tourist spot that everybody goes to visit, so prices are going to be jacked up more to stay at a hotel and restaurants and things of that nature. But I definitely would recommend going to see it because it's very beautiful and it's just really cool, in my opinion, seeing just the architecture and that small little island.
Yeah, and if you do know a little bit about Italy or Capri and you're wondering why we didn't go to the Blue Grotto, it's because I was reading about the Blue Grotto in Capri, which, if you're not sure what that is, it's pretty much a cave in the sea right off of the island, or I guess it's technically kind of part of the island, and the water is supposed to be really blue and beautiful. But I was reading about it, and some people that have issues with being seasick don't recommend it because sometimes the water in the cave gets really rocky depending on the weather and the tides. And so I decided I don't really want to risk it because being seasick really ruins a whole day if I get really seasick. So we watched some videos on YouTube and looked at some pictures, and we're like, okay, we can live with not going this time. Maybe sometime in the future we'll go. But I didn't really feel like I was missing anything. I mean, we had a lot of other really cool experiences. And I'd probably recommend it based off of the pictures online, but I can't say anything about in person because never been. But anyway, we can jump to the following day, unless you have anything else about Capri or that day.
No, I just was trying to remember. There was some history I think we learned about. Wasn't like one of the ancient Roman emperors exiled to Capri to live out like the last parts of his life. I think I just looked it up. Tiberius, I think, Emperor Tiberius. I just randomly remembered that. I was curious, but I think that's all really about Capri. I think you can experience Capri kind of, unless you're going and exploring all throughout the island and I guess stopping to do other things. I think a day trip is probably good enough, in my opinion.
I would agree. I was fine with a day trip there.
Me too. I guess the final thing we can mention is the Amalfi Coast. We finally, I mean, kind of when you mention like you're going to Sorrento, I feel like a lot of times if you're like in Sorrento or in that area, they just consider it the Amalfi Coast maybe because it's just like that whole side. Because I guess they just assume you're going to go visit it. But we took a bus basically from Sorrento early in the morning to the Amalfi Coast, and Marta, did you see this in Rick Steves, him mentioning sitting on the one side of the bus?
Yep. So what I like about Rick Steves, aside from just having a lot of information and recommendations, is the little tidbits of knowledge that make a huge difference in your experience. And what Adam just mentioned in the book on the drive to the Amalfi Coast, it actually says that on the way there, you should sit on the right-hand side because of the bus, because then you'll be literally on the edge of the bus and you'll have the best view, and on the left on the way back. So I remember when we got on the bus, we were like, is there going to be any seats on the right-hand side? And people, I think it maybe like 60-40, 60% were already sitting on the right, 40 on the left. Like I didn't notice everyone sitting on that side. So it's clear that, I mean, if I hadn't read that tidbit, I probably would have just taken the first available seat.
Yeah.
But I was like, go to the back, that seat, those two seats in the back where there's two seats together on the right.
But it was a good call because we got to see just all the amazing views on the drive from Sorrento to Amalfi. And it was pretty, I don't want to say scary, but it was just neat being in the bus, and those bus drivers just drive normally like they're in a tiny car, and the roads are small in of itself, so when you're on the right side, it kind of, sometimes you don't even see the edge of where the end of the road kind of on the side, so it just looks like you're looking over the cliff, which is spectacular. And you got did you get time lapse or you just take pictures of it or a video?
I would put up my phone and just take videos. So I have probably 10 or 15 separate clips that I'm planning on. I've been working on it, but I'm not quite finished yet because silly me, for the very first clip, I started it holding my phone vertically, and then halfway through the clip, or maybe a third of the way, it doesn't really matter, I flipped my phone horizontally, and that's been like the most annoying thing because I have to figure out I know how to splice the clip, so I already split it up in iMovie where I'm editing all the videos together, or all the clips together into one long video. But I want the vertical clip to look like the horizontal ones, but then I have to either crop it or adjust the sizing. I don't really know if it's possible. I'm looking into it. I've been doing some other stuff. I haven't spent too much time because I'm just annoyed at myself. Why did I not just hold it the same way? But regardless.
Yeah, and you're also working on some other projects.
Yeah, I'm working on some other
future
projects. Hint, hint. Stay tuned. But yeah, I really am excited. I don't know. Maybe we'll put it up on YouTube or something for hot listeners to check out.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's stunning. It's a crazy drive.
Mm-hmm.
The views are amazing. And then when we got there, I almost was sad that the drive was over because
that was just beautiful.
I really like scenic drives, and we've mentioned on other podcasts some scenic drives that we've done in Colorado. So this one, I mean, it was no different. It was just, I mean, it was different than Colorado scenic drives. But I mean, my attitude
yeah, there's a lot more water.
Just the beauty of it all. And then once we got to Amalfi,
which is surprising, I didn't realize this, that Positano is the larger of the cities on the Amalfi Coast that more people visit, that's more touristy.
Mm-hmm.
And Amalfi is a lot smaller.
Which is another reason why I wanted to visit Amalfi, because Positano, for me, I didn't want to visit both cities because both towns, because they seemed like a similar-ish vibe. We were just doing a day trip, but I wanted to see, when we were talking, we decided to visit Amalfi instead of both, or instead of just Positano, because it's a little bit less touristy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know if that's true because they're both so touristy, but it was smaller and less overwhelming in terms of the amount of people there. And we had lunch there. It was kind of funny. So we had lunch, and I forget do you remember what you ordered there? I got gnocchis.
I don't remember.
Doesn't really matter. I was just curious if you remembered. But
I think it was a sandwich of some kind.
Maybe. I don't know.
Probably.
But I remember there was a couple sitting next to us, and I forget. I'm really bad at starting conversation in public with strangers. I forget if they did or we did, but they were asking us about our trip, and we asked about theirs, and they're like, oh, we're on like a 20-day tour. I was, wow, that's a lot. But I'm sure you can see tons of Italy with that much time. And then they asked us, and we said we're doing it on our own, and it was just it was an interesting conversation. I honestly would not mind doing a whole episode just on that discussion.
We should.
I think that would be a good topic. And people that only do tours or only travel on their own could kind of see both perspectives. So, stay tuned for a future episode on that, because I just decided that that's a future topic.
It's a good idea.
Thank you.
I wanted to mention about Amalfi because I thought I saw this before when looking it up. And especially it jogged my memory when I mentioned the fact that it's shocking that Positano is larger than Amalfi, even though the coast is called the Amalfi Coast. And then then it jogged my memory. I think something happened to Amalfi, so I went and searched it up, because apparently Amalfi used to be like kind of a marine powerhouse area, city, where it was like a hub for trading and everything. And it eventually, in 1343, it was apparently destroyed by the lower portion, and the port area was destroyed by a tsunami. And then it never really, since that point in time, never really recovered since then. And I guess that's why it's not as like a large or sprawling city or town or something as large as Positano, which I thought was interesting. And I think maybe some people would be interested in hearing that slight history
historical
lesson.
Tidbit.
Yeah. Is there anything else we want to mention about our trip? Did we want to mention like the gelato place? I think we already mentioned gelato place in Sorrento. So if you ever go, check it out. I think that's it for this episode. Since we're running a little late, we're going to save recommendations for some other time, and I think they're pretty good recommendations.
Yeah, we have quite a list going, so we'll either...
Yeah, we haven't been around for a while, so we've been able to pile up recommendations instead of the day of being like, oh, goodness, what are we going to recommend?
I recommend bananas.
Sumo oranges.
Hey, I do recommend those. Because
those are good. I haven't seen them lately, though.
I don't think they're in season anymore.
No? Is it only like... What season did we get them? Is it winter?
I think winter.
Okay.
I mean, it's like any fruit has a season where they grow more.
Yeah, I just realized I haven't seen them as often as we were a while back.
But we also don't go to Whole Foods as often anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
We shop at other stores where it's not $10 for an apple.
Okay, that's a little extreme. But since it's been an hour and some change into this podcast, I think it's time to wrap it up.
Yeah.
So this has been episode 40. I know it's been a long time coming, but we're finally back, and we're excited to be here. Did you have a good time recording this episode?
Blast. I had a blast. I've never had more fun in my entire life.
So serious. I can't tell if you're joking or not. Okay.
Can I just say before you wrap up that Adam is like, today he was like a little boy on Christmas. He kept asking me how excited I was to record the podcast. And I said, yeah, I'm excited. And it almost reminded me of like when you have a crush in middle school or when you're first dating someone just in the beginning phases and you're afraid that you forgot to, I don't know, do something small. You forgot to say excuse me when you burped or whatever. And you're like, oh my gosh, they don't like me anymore. Oh my gosh. I just ruined my entire relationship, my future. This is not my husband anymore. Even though you get so ahead of yourself, blah, blah, blah. But it's kind of like that. It reminded me of someone asking, oh, do you still like me? Okay. 5 minutes later. Do you still like me? It reminded me of that. It was cute. You were so excited.
I'm excited to record the podcast. I always like doing it.
I know, but it was just cute that you kept asking. And then I would be like, yeah, I'm excited. And you're like, but you don't sound excited. I'm like, I'm excited. And then he'd be like, okay, that's better. It was just funny.
I don't know. I'm just happy to be back recording.
Guess who's back? Back again.
Yeah.
Hot Pod's back. Hot Pod's back. Hot Pod's back. Hot Pod's back.
Well, I guess you actually did what I was jokingly going to do, or jokingly said I was going to do, doing the Eminem Guess Who's Back thing. But yeah, episode 40, Hot Pod. You can find us on any podcast service out there. It's been a while since I've done this. There's a Facebook page that is going to be more active now since we're going to be posting episodes, so every episode gets posted there if you want to check it out. We have a Twitter page, not as active, but still episodes get posted there as well. You can follow both of us on Instagram, which is in our description if you want to check out our cute pictures that we have together, and be on the lookout for any future projects, especially the ones that March is working on. And I think she's very excited. I've been pushing her to do this for a while now, and I think I finally got her into the groove.
Well, I have the motivation, but you're just pushing me to actually execute versus just talk about it.
Yeah, because there's a difference between execution and talking, planning and doing, which is another whole topic.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Thank you all you hot listeners for being here. We love ya. You want to say anything before we go?
Thanks for listening.
Bye.